Pranams to all of you once again, and we are meeting first time in this new year. As we step into this new year, I pray as well as offer my heartfelt wishes to all of you. May this year become more meaningful, bring more clarity in all of us, more steadfastness in actions, and overall peace in our hearts. Let it not be just a mere new date, something like Y2026, not based on the calendar, but let it be something like, that will initiate a new depth in our living, in our life. Let it be, a kind of a transformation happening rather than wishing some happy new year. And let us also use this moment to pause and ask, how should I live better? How can I be a better person this year? Right? We all might have taken some resolutions. I will do this as a new thing in this year, etc. Right? So let's also reflect upon this. I'm not talking about any resolutions and things like that. How do I act more meaningfully? How do I remain more focused in this world where the world is always bringing a lot of distractions, right? So before we start our new verses for today, let me also take this opportunity to reflect upon the last three verses which we covered, especially 22, 23, 24 verses, these three verses of chapter 3 Karma Yoga. So where Bhagavan Krishna basically presents the profound model of living, where Bhagavan says that a life of full engagement without having any inner burden, and a life where actions flow through us without any restlessness, a life where we act without ego. If you see this verse number 20, let me take this. Verse number 20 of third chapter. Not verse number 20, verse number 22. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana na anavaptam avaptavyam varta evaja karman. So Bhagavan Krishna here declares that he has nothing to do, nothing to gain, nothing to lose, and nothing is lacking. Yet, Bhagavan Krishna continues to act tirelessly. Implies that right actions and the right attitude are needed, and it does not come from a need also. From where it comes? It comes from the fullness. So for people like us, seekers like us, what we usually do, why we do work in life, why we act in life, we always feel that there is some imperfection in life, correct? Meaning set of limitations and issues and we try to bridge those gaps. That's why the kind of attitude that we have while we work, while we do actions in this world, and we don't feel that completion in us and then act. So here Bhagavan says, act not to complete yourself, because when you see the limitations in us, and with that limitations, what we are trying to do, we are trying to bridge those limitations, and you are acting to make you complete. That should not be the approach. You need to act with completeness, and the freedom is within you. Freedom is, the inner freedom is within you, and the freedom is not to withdraw from life. And the freedom is basically what? Freedom is basically to do the engagement in life in a non-dependent way. So that is where the focus in life will come. Where the focus comes when we start acting no longer driven by any insecurity or incompleteness. So freedom is basically what? Freedom is knowing that we all are complete in the sense the wholesomeness is there within us, the perfection is there within us. The moment you think that you are not perfect, you need to really achieve due to this imperfection, that is where the expectation comes, that is where the binding comes. And the freedom is already there. The freedom is basically what? You all are inherently free. What is this free meaning? The free meaning that self is complete. So that is where the focus in life will come. When the actions are no longer driven by insecurity, because by nature you are perfect. That's where the Shanti Mantram says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyade Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avasishyade. So when we have this understanding, the actions will not be towards personal gains. The actions will happen just for maintaining the order and harmony. That's what Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. You are just becoming a nimitta. Nimitta matram bhava savyasajin. You are just an instrument. So here there is nothing to gain, personal gains. You are here to maintain or formulate the order and harmony. And those actions are needed, because those actions only will sustain this world. So through all of us, certain things are destined to happen. So what we need to have a shift in our attitude that we are perfect. When I say perfect, not the ego's play here. By nature, we all are Purnam. The wholesomeness is there. We are the embodiment of that wholesomeness. With that attitude, let the things happen through me. And further, Bhagavan says in the verse 23, Yedi hyaham na varteyam jadu karmani adandridaha mama vartmanu vartande manushya partha sarvasha. So here Bhagavan Krishna says that you need to lead in life by showing examples, and you need to be a role model. Here Bhagavan says, if I stop acting, that sets a wrong role model, and people will start, if I enact in life, everybody will follow this inaction. So what happens is basically we all have the tendency to role model the behavior of our respected figures, leaders, teachers, elders, etc. Right? And those people who have that sort of an influence will also carry a great responsibility. And people will silently watch those people, right? We all look at the role models, the influential people around us. And if the role models are not up to the mark, what will happen? That sets a wrong precedence in others. So our conduct, when I say our conduct, here Bhagavan says, my conduct will be silently watched by others. If I set a wrong role modeling, others will imbibe that. So I don't have anything to gain. Personal gain is not there, but certain things are destined to happen through me in this birth. Similarly, for all of us, certain things are destined to happen through me. We need to act with the understanding that we are perfect by core, and the selfish desires should not drive our actions. And verse number 24, Ulsideyurime loka nakuryam karma chedaham sangarasya cha kartasyam ubahanyamima praja. And abandoning rightful actions can cause social breakdown. So inaction by a capable person is as harmful as wrong actions. So selfless action is essential for the welfare of the world. So here Bhagavan Krishna presents himself through or himself as a karma yogi who is acting without the desire, who is leading by example, who is here to protect dharma. Through what? Through continuous engagement as a king, as a role model, as a sarathi, different hats. We all have such responsibilities in life, wearing different hats. So one has to act without selfish desires. One should lead by example. One should protect dharma through continuous engagement. And our work should not be just for the not be for the pay or hike or a promotion or things like that, right? It is not about setting certain expectations, selfish expectations, but it has to be for what? It has to be for sustaining the system. So that's what Bhagavan says, the true leadership by behaving. Others will look at us. If you don't act with responsibility, that can create problem. So here Arjuna, I know that I don't have anything to gain in life, but I act as a karma yogi. I need to do the role modeling. I need to lead by example. I need to protect dharma through the continuous engagement. That's where Bhagavan says, yada yadahi dharmasya, to maintain that law and order, to maintain that dharma, to sustain the system. And otherwise also, if you see in our regular life, when we work in different spheres of life, we can see that people around us and how leaders are, or the qualities of leaders are imbibed by others. There is also a saying that yada raja tada praja. So what sort of role modeling the leaders do, what sort of attributes the leaders express, others will follow. If a leader cuts corners or the leader avoids the accountability or do a kind of a disengagement, what happens? That qualities are mirrored in the people around the leader. Whereas if a leader is pretty much disciplined, ethical, and present, meaning not bothered about the outcomes of the results, etc., action, the true action, that sort of a culture will, be created around that leader. And again, there is also a cost of disengagement, right? If you are supposed to act, if you are destined to act, you cannot go with the inaction. That inaction will create a lot of chaos. So being a responsible person in your profession, you cannot afford to be inactive there. That inaction will create chaos in life. So you need to do your job well. Don't obsess over recognition or credit or outcomes. What one has to do, one has to focus on the process, focus on the efforts, focus on the values. One has to have what? One has to have the extreme, extreme sense of ownership. A kind of a craftsman or a craftsmanship mindset. So here Bhagavan emphasized that do your work not because you need something from it, but because the world needs you to do it very well, properly. Don't afford to have slack. That's why, Arjuna, I am not keeping myself in inaction. I cannot afford to have that. Similarly, you also should be like that. That's what Bhagavan gives the ahvanam, the empowerment to Arjuna, empowerment to all of us. You be a karma yogi, tasmad yogi bhava Arjuna. You become a karma yogi. You imbibe the art of focused living in you. Not about doing less or not about running away in life. And you become a karma yogi, you become inwardly free while doing more. So that is the wisdom that Bhagavan gives to Arjuna. So let us use this wisdom. Let us use this wisdom in this new year. Not just to become productive, but truly transformative in our lives. So what we need concentration and purity of the mind. These two are the prerequisites for the karma yogam. What are the two prerequisites? Concentration and purity of the mind. And our actions will become yoga if and only if, when we do the duty as an offering to the Supreme without preoccupation of the outcomes. First and foremost is what? First and foremost is the prapatti. First and foremost is the sharanagati, the bhakti, the dedication, the surrender. So when actions are thus offered with that mindset, this is the prasada buddhi. This is the path of bhakti. You offer everything to that Lord, that Supreme. So why we need to do this? Because when you don't become the agent of doing this, you are not gathering the stains of the karma. When I say stains of the karma, the desire, attachment, doership, enjoyership, raga, dvesha, kartrutva, bhoktrutva. We are not really gaining all those things. You are not collecting the states. You are not mixing these things into the mind. You are still allowing the mind to be very clear. You are allowing the mind to be clean. When you do the karma, you are not accumulating these stains, raga, dvesha, kartrutva, bhoktrutva. What happens is basically the mind is still clean like a glass. You all will appreciate when the glass is clean, the reflection is also pure. Whereas if the glass is dirty. So here, when I say the glass, when the mind is pure, when the glass is pure, the reflection of the light is also pure. So what is this light? The light is the consciousness. That is the truth within all of us. When the mind is clear, when the mind is pure, that reflection is pure. You are able to see that clarity within. You are able to see that consciousness within. You are not adding any errors into this. You are reflecting the real consciousness, which is very pure, which is unchanging, without adding any of these stains. But otherwise, what happens in life is our mind will add different flavors, different colors. And from where these colors come? Colors come through our inherent capabilities or the capacities like the vasanas. We all have different traits in life. That is very much carried from different phases, different spheres of our life. The individual experiences, individual thoughts, individual perceptions that we carry, the way that we are brought up, and the mental modifications that we create, the emotions that we have, the ego that we have, the illusions that we create in life. So when we have all those errors in the mind, the pure consciousness is distracted. The kind of a, the separation will come out of these errors, because these are the different colors that we are adding. The colors we are adding on the top of the pure consciousness. So that is where when we add these colors, that sort of a rigid individuality comes. And when we have these colors, our personality is also colored, and we will look at others with this influence of the colors. So what Bhagavan says is basically you understand your core, your truth, yourself is this pure consciousness. This is a single truth. Original consciousness, the Sakshi Chaitanyam, the pure consciousness is my highest nature. We individuals are basically what? The original consciousness plus the reflected consciousness plus the reflected medium. And what is common here? Common is the original consciousness. Reflected consciousness plus reflected medium is basically what? The mind and the body. But what is the common thread? The original consciousness. The pure consciousness is the common thread. That's what in the beginning, in our dhyanam, we saw that. Jagrat Swapna Sushiptishu Spudadaraya Samvid Ujram Bhade. Ya Brahma the Pipili Gandata Nishuproda Jagal Sakshini. So the one who is aware of the true nature as the original consciousness, the reflection of that original consciousness that happens in the mind, plus the medium, the reflected medium. If you know that I am the original consciousness, the individuality will disappear. This is the realization that one has to aim in life. And what happens in life? Our mind does the job of borrowing this original consciousness and reflect this consciousness in this physical body. So mind is capable to borrow this consciousness, so called as the Sakshi Chaitanyam, borrowed by the mind to make it as a Pratibimba Chaitanyam in this body, because the body is also should be there, the reflected medium, reflected consciousness and the reflected media, and the influence of the mind to borrow the original consciousness and reflect. See how the appliances work. For example, electricity is the common thing that is really needed for any of the appliances to work, be it a light bulb or a refrigerator or a washing machine. What is common here? Electricity is common. Electricity has to be there, then only the appliances will work. But you need to see, these devices will have different caliber or capability. For example, a light bulb should have an LED or a filament or whatever it is. And using those capabilities, the light bulb will give light. Whereas a grinder will be having the capability to do the grinding, rotation or whatever is it. Or the refrigerator will have the caliber or capability to do the cooling. So the medium is different. But what is the source? Source is basically electricity. And if you understand that the source is very much needed, without the source nothing will work. Is there any meaning in having different appliances without electricity? If there is nothing to be triggered, if the devices are not triggered or actuated, will these devices work? Absolutely no. So similarly, in our life, we need to understand that as a Jivan, right? The Jivan basically reflects the original consciousness with this mind, so called as the Pratibimba Chaitanya or the Abhasa Chaitanya. But what is really needed? The original consciousness is needed. It is like one sun shining and all of us are getting benefited out of that. Similarly, the Supreme Consciousness is the truth in all of us. And many minds, bodies are reflecting that consciousness. That is where we are called as the Jiva, Jiva Atma. So what is the biggest wisdom the Vedanta gives? That Jiva Atma is equal to Paramatma. So you are that great truth, but due to this, these superimpositions, you are not knowing that truth. And one has to aim for this knowledge. This knowledge only will bring liberation in life. And Gita as a Shastram, if you see, the first, we all know that 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, we can say 3 Shatkam, 3 sets of 6 chapters. The first 6, second 6, and the third 6. The first 6 is basically what? First 6 shows the importance of the karma pradhanushtanam. Why karma is needed? Karma is not needed to gain, different power and prosperity. That can come out of doing karma. But the real reason for doing karma, when I say karma, the karma yoga is all about chitta shuddhi, is all about purification of the mind. And in the first 6 chapters is basically saying the Tvam Pada, who are you? You are not a mere Jiva. So you know this. Now you focus on the karmam as a karma yogam. For what? To perfect your mind, so that that perfection will enable you to see the real truth. So the first 6 chapters are basically giving a definition that you are that supreme truth. But for to understand that, you need to have the chitta shuddhi, the purification of the mind. And the second 6 set of chapters, the second Shatkam, gives more importance to the upasana through the meditation, the capability that one should build in bringing concentration of the mind, the chitta egagrata. So first 6, chitta shuddhi, perfection of the mind, purification of the mind, tuning of the mind. The next 6 chapters basically says the upasana pradhana, that is the chitta egagrata, concentration of the mind. And the last 6 chapters, the third shatka, is all about the jnana pradhana anushtana. When I say jnana pradhana anushthanam, the asipada of the tattvamasi mahavakyam. If you see the first 6, tvam padam, the next 6, the tad padam, tat is that supreme truth, tvam is you, the jiva, and the asipadam, the last. Asi is basically the interconnection of the tad and tvam. What is the real relationship between you and that supreme truth, you and the God? The last 6 chapters are basically conveying the Jiva Ishvara Aikya, merging the Jiva into the real consciousness. And who is this consciousness? Consciousness is the root of everything. That is the only one reality in this entire gamut of everything. But at this point of time, the Jiva, due to the limitations, due to the superimpositions, is not understanding the notional distance which is created due to the ignorance. So Gita as a Shastram is basically bringing this knowledge in all of us. What is this knowledge? The true identity of all of us. And once this knowledge comes, we will be able to drop this notional distance that is created by the mind. Dropping this notional distance that I am a limited being, and remove this notional distance that I am far from that original consciousness. That is what Gita as a Shastram is helping us. And the dropping of this notional distance through the jnana is called as, in the term of Vedanta, as the moksha, or called as the inner freedom. That is the ultimate aim in life, the consciousness which is appearing in the form of Jiva Jagat. And we are that consciousness. We are seeing that consciousness in different forms and factors. So now we need to think, when I say I am aware of these things, or my mind is aware of things, by whom is this mind activated with? So when I say I think, I propose, who is saying that I think? Who is this real I? Is this the mind? If that is the case, in the deep sleep, I was not aware of the mind. That who is the real witness? Who is behind the mind? Who is instructing the mind to think? From where these I thoughts in us come? So that is where, when we start thinking, we will be able to see that something profound is inside us and is observing these relentless changes. We can also see that The changes happening in our emotions, changes happening in our body, mind, sense, intellect, things around us. But the one who is witnessing, the one who is observing these relentless changes is not changing. And that is the very self, and that cannot be observed by the mind because it is behind and beyond the mind. Na tatra chakshur gacchati. Our eyes cannot see this truth. Na vak gacchati. Neither it cannot be described. We cannot observe that. But now I am under the clutch of reflection of the mind with the influence of body, mind, intellect, senses. See, for example, if my mind is agitated, right now I am in a state like I am also agitated, I am agitated. So, what is really agitated here? My mind is agitated. So now we all are conquered by the influence of body, mind, intellect, senses. So our individuality is completely conquered by this body, mind, intellect, senses. So one has to understand this. We cannot run away because these upadhis we have to deal with. But the real problem is basically the superimposition of these body, mind, intellect, senses, these equipments, I will say. So we are having this issue of upadhi dosha. We all are living in ignorance. So what is the real freedom? What is moksham? What is so called as the real purpose in life? You have to be free from the upadhis. We have to be liberated from the upadhi dosham. So what one has to do, one has to have the discrimination in life, vivekam in life. Vivekam about what? Vivekam about who truly am I, what is self versus non-self. Directly understand the higher reality while living in this world. That is the only way to liberate from bondage caused by this ignorance. So what is needed? We need a devotion, we need knowledge, we need dispassion. Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagyam. Bhakti is the means and the end. Bhakti is all about developing the love for that truth, love for that God. And that God is where God is not away from you, as per Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavan Sarvabhudanam Adhyaksho Avasthido Guha. That truth is within us, but that truth is covered by the influence of these upadhis. So what one has to do? One has to surrender to that. One has to surrender to that core, that supreme. And this surrendering is all about to overcome these different sheaths around that and be with that reality. So once we have the love for that God, the love and attraction for the other things will drop off. That is the real renunciation, that is the real vairagya. Knowing what is real, what is not real in life. And the real jnanam in life is basically what? I am that consciousness. I am that unchanging reality. In Bhagavatam, Bhagavan says, Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam toham mad anyate na jananti naham tebhyo managapi. So I exist in the hearts of everyone. Though the body differs, but I exist in everyone. In another way, Bhagavan Sarvabhudanam Adhyaksho Avasthidoga. And in another way, Bhagavan here says, Madanyate na janandi nahab tebhyo managapi. devotees reside in my heart and vice versa. And again, in the context of Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikave Muhyandiyat Surya. So that Lord who is residing in the heart of all of us, that's where devotees reside in my heart and vice versa. So this is the knowledge one has to gain. That is where Bhagavad Gita as a Shastram is equipping all of us. We will see the verse number 25. Sakta karmanya vidvamso yadha kurvandi bharata kuryad vidvams tadasakta chigirshu loga sangraham sakta karmani avidvamsa yada kurvandi bharata kuryad vidwan tata asaktaha chikirshu loka sangraham. Sakta karmani avidvamsa. So here what is it saying? Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, those who are ignorant about the spiritual God, the ultimate God in life, will act in this world with attachment to their actions. So the people who are not aware of this, the ultimate God in life, will always act in this world with the attachments to their actions. So what we need to do? You have to be awakened and you need to be totally detached for the well-being of the world, welfare plus harmony of the world. So here, this is another way of expressing the trait of Nishkama Karma. Nishkama Karma meaning the selfless action, emphasis of selfless action. Why the selfless action is needed? Selfless action is for the good of a better world, for the enrichment of the society, enrichment of the world. So you act as Nishkamam or Nishkama Karmam, you do that. And here Bhagavan says the Karma Yogam is the way of balancing your life with detachment and act with responsibility. And here in the previous versions or previous verses also mentioned about the Loga Sangraham. Loga Sangraham is basically what that will lead to the well-being of the world. And this Loga Sangraham is also called as the Moksha Dharma, the path of freedom, the knowledge of the self. So when one has the knowledge of the self, automatically the actions will be selfless and the actions will be aimed at the betterment of the world. So the wise performs actions for the good of everyone. Wise will not gather the stains of raga, dvesha, kartrutva, bhoktrutva. Wise will always act with the right attitude. That's what this verse says. Verse number 26. Na buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayed sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Na buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayed sarva karmani Vidwan Yukta Samacharan. So here the one who is a jnani, the one who knows my true self is this Atman, this Brahman. That's where it's called as the Atma Vid or a Vidwan in this context. That jnani will not produce any disturbance in the attitude of those who are ignorant, those who are not committed to the those who are not those who are committed, not committed, those who are committed to the results of action. See, very simple. When the people who are around us not equipped to become a karma yogi, and a jnani who is already a karma yogi will not produce a disturbance in the attitude of those people who are not in the path of a karma yoga. They are still looking at the karma bhalam, looking at the results for making them happy, because they don't have the discrimination. So the jnani will not create disturbance there. Jnani will do what? Jnani will not ridicule them. Jnani will only inspire them. Jnani will never try to bring changes all at a sudden. So, for example, I will tell you, people who are still believing in the rituals and prayers only without the knowledge, a jnani will not go and ridicule them. Or otherwise, let us take a very simple example. The knowledge that we get from the scriptures, right? The scriptures are conveying the essential truth. And we have the culture of going to temple, attending social things. All of a sudden, if we stop, okay, there is no point in going. That is a fallacy. You cannot do that. And you cannot disrespect that, because you also came from that path. Rituals and all those prayers, etc. It is needed. But the knowledge is complementing. It doesn't mean that you need to ridicule those things, or you need to say that they all are the juvenile practices. Right? All of a sudden you cannot say there is no point in going to or having this kind of a worship. No. You need to respect that. And we cannot say that it will not help you, etc. And if you say this to somebody who is already doing, they cannot digest that. And a jnani should not hamper the progress of such people by saying that these all are outdated practices, they all are not making any sense. And from a modern standpoint, let us also further simplify. Bhagavan Krishna's advice is basically, don't demotivate people who are deeply engaged in work, or who are deeply engaged in their careers or material responsibilities. So you need to, you cannot impose those higher ideals prematurely into those people. What you should do is basically, you lead by example. You can be working efficiently without ego or obsessions with results. Let others follow you. Let you be the inspiration. You be the inspiration for others through your calm way of working, expressing your competence, showing your integrity, balanced way of life, rather than criticizing the ambition or promoting withdrawal in others. Don't be sarcastic on those things, because they are not evolved to that level. What you can do is basically, you stay engaged yet outwardly detached, or I would say not outwardly, inwardly detached. Outwardly, you don't need to detach. So a mature person should show this and ensure that the social stability is maintained. See, similarly, I will tell a very practical example. Those who are having the swadhyaya of Gita, etc., knows that death happens in any realm of life, in any family. And you have more knowledge, you have better understanding. There is no death. Death is only for the body. And assume that when death happens in a common man's home, it's quite obvious that that family will be, overwhelmed, lot of grief, lot of confusion, lot of fear. And at that moment, if a wise person who has knowledge cannot speak to the family that, yeah, soul is not having any death or birth, soul is eternal, nothing has happened in your family, cannot tell those things. It will disturb the minds of the people, right? And again, it will also appear very insensitive to them. You cannot quote the Gita slogan at that point, na jayate mriyate va kadajit, nayam bhutva bhavidava na puya, ajo nitya shashvadoyam purana, na hanyate hanyamane sharir. You cannot say all those things, right? What you need to do, you need to be more empathetic with them. You cannot be philosophical. Yeah, I understand this is a very painful condition. This is a very, an abnormal situation. I understand the pain is quite natural. Take your own time. Don't worry. Don't worry. You should come out of this. We all are here with you. Help them out to come out of those emotional issues. And when once they are settled, then we can then the one who is wise can softly remind them, yeah, because this is a mere phenomena. Body has come and body will go, but the love remains, the memories remain, and our life must move forward. This is the way that this wisdom can be given or offered to the listeners who are not matured enough to gain, because we cannot convert or we cannot bombard this wisdom to the people who are not capable to receive. So this way we can offer this to the people around us. Don't preach detachment, don't define detachment. What you need to do, you need to demonstrate it. You have to stay in this world, you have to do your work, you need to carry your responsibilities with a calm mind, and let the way of our living teach people around us. This should be the way, right? That's where this is from the context of Bhagavan Krishna, and again, it is also applicable to all of us when we evolve in our life with this knowledge. With this knowledge, we need to stay in this world, we need to do the work, we need to execute our responsibilities with a calm, cool-headed mindset, rather than teaching, preaching. You need to really show those things in our life so that others will follow us. So let us stay fully engaged in our duties and remain free within. That freedom will come when we have this knowledge, right? So let us lead our lives with more examples rather than words and all those things. So let our actions also bring more compassion, stability, and inspire others. That's what we should do. This knowledge is very profound, and we should inculcate this knowledge. And with this knowledge only, one can ultimately reach to the real goal in life. That real goal in life is knowing ourselves. With that, we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.